We are the CSO Partnership for Development Effectiveness, and this is our Report to the Public 2020, titled Pushing Onward Through Challenges in Development Effectiveness. In 2020, like the rest of the world, we confronted the challenges brought by COVID-19. These challenges exacerbated the many crises that have existed pre-pandemic, from poverty and hunger to impacts of climate change and conflicts, and attacks on civic spaces. As coronavirus spread, CPDE aimed to address the issues affecting its constituencies, partners, and greater global community. We argued that COVID-19 is a wake-up call to reverse inequality and a challenge to leave no one behind. We promptly tried to touch base with our members through a survey of how the pandemic is affecting civil society and how civil society is responding to COVID. We developed a framework paper on why effectiveness matters in the response to the pandemic. From here, we embarked on an ambitious global study, mobilizing our members across regions and sectors to pose a critical look at COVID responses around the world. We held webinars to share our findings, that the global COVID-19 response had uneven or weak adherence to the principles of country ownership, inclusive partnerships, transparency and accountability, and focus on results. To be effective and to truly leave no one behind, it must uphold the development effectiveness principles and a human rights-based approach. We also conducted a policy conference that yielded the declaration Development Effectiveness for a Sustainable Response to COVID-19. At the same time, we sustained our policy engagement on effective development cooperation in such policy arenas as the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, the UN High-Level Political Forum, and the Office of the UN Deputy Secretary General. We participated in various global partnership meetings and workshops, making sure our positions were reflected across the activity agenda and outcomes. Moreover, in support of efforts to modernize the GPEDC monitoring framework, we partnered with the European Union's Directorate General for International Cooperation and Development to launch the webinar Towards a Convincing Evidence Base to Enhance Effective Development Cooperation. In time for the UN High-Level Political Forum, CPDE released its voluntary national review study, which showed that the Sustainable Development Goals are off track and under further threat amid COVID-19. And as the United Nations celebrated its 75th anniversary, we called on wealthy countries to meet their 50-year-old pledge to provide 0.7% of gross national income as official development assistance to the world's poorest. Across regions and sectors, CPDE has also been advocating the stronger application and recognition of CSO development effectiveness principles. Our constituencies are conducting, among others, reviews of their own effectiveness amid COVID, a study on official development assistance and donors' role in conflict situations based on development effectiveness principles, and research on best practices in promoting dynamic accountability. At the country level, we have rolled out national campaigns on shrinking civic space in 9 countries from 5 regions. Other notable accomplishments for 2020 include the release of a policy research on conflict and fragility, our continued participation in the DAC CSO reference group and the task team on CSO development effectiveness and enabling environment. CPDE achieved several organizational milestones in 2020. We have launched our strategic plan for 2020 to 2023 called Leveraging Effective Development Cooperation for Inclusive Partnerships to Deliver the 2030 Agenda. We also published the CPDE constituency papers, which feature our constituency's reflections on their practices and capacities in linking development cooperation principles and commitments to their contexts. We were determined to sustain our activities and governance functions amid COVID, conducting the meetings of our committees, task forces, and constituencies, as well as our Global Assembly, virtually. Finally, we continued to meet our program commitments and established systems to support implementation in the coming years. Last year, in the face of the pandemic and shrinking civic space, we adopted new ways of working, not a small feat for a global platform. We reviewed our priorities to situate our mandate within the drastically evolving context. Sometimes this meant implementing unplanned initiatives and accepting the difference between our original vision and the actual outcomes. But we observed how COVID reinvigorated the engagement of our members to the development cooperation agenda. It has also paved the way for some of the platform's most powerful policy messaging since its inception. In the end, we are happy and proud that our accomplishments are more grounded in the realities faced by our constituencies. This 2021, still amid the pandemic, the persistent poverty and inequality, and continued shrinking and closing of civic spaces, CPDE is committed to strengthen its advocacy work, especially at the country level. With the support of our members and partners, CPDE aims to highlight the importance and relevance, perhaps now more than ever, of effective development cooperation.